Hi guys, I'm Tim. Thanks for joining me as we travel through every Metallica song ever recorded. Today we'll be looking at how to play No Remorse on guitar. This is the third full-length tutorial that I've done of Metallica's now. The other two were Jump in the Fire and Motor Breath, both of which can be found by clicking the link in the description below. Be sure to let me know what song you want next off of Kill 'Em All. The one with the most requests is the winner, and I'll get to it as fast as I can. Remember that all of my guitar lessons come with full tabs and leave no lick or riff behind. So thanks so much for supporting the channel and subscribing. Share this video with your metalhead friends and let's get learning how to play No Remorse on guitar. This first riff was a bit of a mystery. Almost everybody I watch plays it slightly differently. Everybody seems to have their own way. So I thought, no, that won't do. Let's get to the bottom of this. What's happening? So I ended up loading the song up into my DAW and I panned it left, I panned it right. I EQ'd everything out except for the guitar as best I could. And I scoured the internet for live footage as well. And I believe that I have this very, very close. And if there's anything that's not note for note the way it is on the album, then it's very, very close to how they're playing it live now. So I've seen a lot of people say to start with an E power chord and then hammer onto an F sharp, but I've never seen them do that. So if it's good enough for James, it's good enough for me. And all that he's doing is hitting a couple of open strings and then hammering onto the F sharp. Okay, so you hit your two low strings open and then hammer onto your F sharp power chord at the 2nd fret and the 4th frets. And then do 2 chugs on that 2nd fret. And then this is where we pull off to an E. Okay. So that's might take a little bit of practice just to get that pull off right. And then 2 chugs on that open E. And then we repeat that open string to hammering to that F sharp. Okay. 2 more chugs. And then this is where we leave our pinky down and just pull off to an open E with your first finger. Up to an A power chord. Okay, now when I slowed the album down too, and I even played it at half speed, and this stuff became more apparent, like you can hear these ringing together. So you can kind of hear all of these ringing together. So, and then we want to put our pinky back down at that point to hammer on. That's the only point where he puts his pinky down first and hammers on. So far we've got this. Two more chugs on the F sharp, and we just repeat that F sharp to E pull off. 2 more chugs on the E, and then hammer on, back to our F sharp. And then we want to hit our F sharp and pull off to 2 open strings, and go up to a B power chord. And that's the whole riff. Okay, now there was one other thing that I noticed when I was studying this track, and this is a dual guitar part. They double tracked, and one guitar is actually playing the exact same thing except for when the B comes along, they're putting in a major third. So we're going to hit our B with a D sharp, the 1st fret of the D string. So the second guitar would do the exact same thing. So once you hear that, you can't unhear it. So go back and listen to it a few times and you'll see what I mean. And then let's get into the next riff. This next riff is one of the easiest in the song. Nice and easy. Okay, we're just going 2 chugs on the open low E. Get that palm mute nice. Get the chuggy sound, I call it. And then palm mute off for a hammering from 5 to 7 on the A string. Okay, so we're going to do that 5 to 7 hammer 3 times. And then we go to a C power chord on the 3rd fret of the A. Okay, and then we go back and repeat our open E's and 5/7 hammers. Okay, now this on the album, there's power chords here where we do a little chromatic walk up from the A power chord on the 5th fret of the low string up to the 6th fret and up to the 7th. Live though, I've noticed that they've kind of gotten rid of those power chords and he just does the walk up on the low string with single notes. But you know, feel free to take your pick there. So that riff really slow sounds like this. Let's get into the next riff. This riff is cool. It's got a nice groove to it. I really like this one. So we start off by bending the 3rd fret on our low string, a little quarter step bend, just nudge it, and then palm mute the low E. And then we hit the 5th fret on both the A and the D strings, and then come back to a low E palm muted. And we just bounce back and forth between those 5th frets and the palm muted E. Okay, and then we just repeat basically the same idea, but we're displacing the first note by half a beat by moving it to the end of 4, and that's how we're getting that really cool groove. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, that last time you play it, you just hit an open E at the bottom without palm muting it. You just go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're into our next riff. So here that one is, and let's talk about it. This is another really classic style riff. We're gonna palm mute 2 E's to start, and then we jump up to the 4th string, 5th fret, and then back down 2 palm muted E's down to the 4th fret of the D string. 2 more palm muted E's, 7th fret of the A string, 2 more palm muted E's, 5th fret of the A string, 2 more palm muted E's with a hammer from 5 to 7. Okay, and that plays 4 times. And now I've noticed that live, James is the one, he'll play this how I've just showed it to you with the G and the F sharp on the D string, and Kirk Hammett will double that part, but he relocates those notes up to the 10th and the 9th frets on the A string, so he'll play it like this. Just for a little timbral difference, just to get as much difference between those 2 guitar parts as possible. So you can take your pick how you want to play it, whatever you choose. So that plays 3 times, exactly like that. And then the 4th time, we just changed the last measure. The last measure is this. Okay, so we're going 1 and 2, so 7 on the A string, and 2 chugs on our open E. And then we hit the 5th fret on the D and the G string. And you're gonna get a rhythmic sound here. I don't hear, when I slowed it down and really listened, I couldn't hear them chugging again on the low E, but it's just putting your palm down and getting a rhythmic sound. So you hit the 5th fret, and then you hit it again, and slide down to the 4th fret. And then you repeat. The next riff we have to talk about is a completely new section of the song, and it gets a triplet feel here. And to get into that, there's a mysterious scratching, a little interlude section. So we have 4 bars of, that's exactly what it is pick scratches. So you want to just put your pick perpendicular on those low strings and just slide it back and forth, okay? And you can think of them as quarter note triplets. That's how the timing that is going on there. So you'd want to go back and forth 6 times every measure. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you do that for 4 measures. So you could count up to 6 4 times. And to get a little even crazier, you could even slide this hand a little bit. And then you'll be able to duplicate that sound that they've got going on. And then we get into the next riff, which is this. The song takes on a triplet feel at this point, so if triplets are new to you, this is going to be a great riff to work on. But it's not as hard as you would think. It's really just one measure of music repeating over and over with just the last beat changing. So what we do is we palm mute 2 E's, followed by a 2-3-2 on the low E string, and 2 more low E's. And just put a palm mute on for all of that. And then we jump up to the 7th fret on the A string for a power chord. Okay, so that first bar. 1, a 2 triplet, 3, a 4. Okay, so you want to get that picking right so that you can get that triplet feel. So you'll go down, down, up, down, down, down. And then everything repeats exactly the same for the next 3 measures of the riff. We're just going to change that power chord at the end to a new power chord every time. Okay, we move down to the 5th fret of the A string for the second measure. Down to the 3rd fret for the 3rd measure, and back to the 5th fret for the 4th measure. And there's your 4 measure riff, and that just repeats around and around and around. So here it is really slow. Okay, and then that repeats for the solo. And then out of the solo, we get a little harmonized figure that comes in. The tempo of the song drops, and we get this. Okay, that thing. And that plays 3 times. The 3rd time, we get a harmony guitar in there. So all that we're doing is we're starting on the 10th fret of the high E string with our pinky. And then we're going 8, 7, 8 on the high string. And then we're going 7 on the high string, 10 on the B string, back to 7. And that last little bit is going down all on the B string. 10, 8, 7, 8. Back up to 10. And there's your 1 measure. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 E and then that repeats 3 times. And the 3rd time, another guitar comes in and harmonizes it in 4ths. So the 2nd guitar that comes in is doing. Okay, so we're going 10, 8, 7, 8 on the B string. And then we're going 7 down to the G string, 9 back up to 7. And then we're going 9, 7, 6, 7, 9. And then we're finishing off that little riff by doing a D power chord, 5th fret of the A string, jumping down to an A power chord, 5th fret of the E string. And then we're back into that other riff that we know so well. And then the next riff that we have gets a little bit crazier, and here we go. This one's a good pick hand workout, a lot of 16th notes, just rapid fire alternate picking here. So we start with an A power chord, and then just a whole bunch of chugging away on the open E. So if you can count 16ths, if you know 16ths, it's really just straight 16ths, except for that first beat of every measure. 1 and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Okay, so there's going to be 3 straight beats of just down, up, down, up. So down, down, up for the first beat, followed by 3 beats of down, up, down, up. Okay, and then all that's changing is that power chord. And I slowed this riff down too and really listened. And I don't hear them doing full power chord stabs. I just really hear those top 2 strings of the power chord. So, okay, so we want to get the 7th fret of the D and G strings. That's kind of the top strings of our D power chord. And we're just repeating the rhythm. 1 and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a down to the 4th fret of the D and G strings, up to the 5th, but we only do 2 beats there, 1 and a 2 E and a, and then we do this kind of quarter note triplet thing. Okay, so we're just barring the 4th, 5th, back to the 4th, and then repeating it again. This riff, again, we're using the top 2 strings of these power chords to outline the harmony. And we're starting with 2 stabs on the A power chord. So bar the 2nd fret, the D and the G strings, with a A palm mute. Okay, lots of A palm mutes between these power chords. And then we're going to hit the 5th fret on the D and G strings, back to the A power chord on the 2nd fret. Okay, and then we repeat those A power chords. And then it's jumping up to the 7th frets on the D and G strings, down to the 5th on the D and G. So far, those first 2 measures. Okay, and something to talk about is releasing the pressure on those a little bit, just to get... They're not really staccato, they're not super short, but you do just want to cut them slightly short, not a full 8th note. Okay, now the 3rd measure goes back to what we did with in the 1st measure. It's the exact same. And then the 4th measure changes again. Okay, where we're doing the 4, 5, 4 again, like we did in the previous riff. So that whole riff really slow. And so on. We're almost done, guys. Let's wrap this tune up with the outro. So the outro of the song, we're just tacking some stuff onto that really fast riff where we're doing a lot of palm muting on the open A. We're not altering that riff at all. It plays for the right repetitions, and then we're just tacking on to the end. So we start off by getting out of that riff by doing our 4, 5, 4, and then full C power chord. So we're not just doing the top 2 strings here anymore. We're going 3rd fret on the A string and the 5th fret on the D and G. Slide that down 1/2 step to a B power chord. And then some tremolo strumming on an open E power chord. And on the album, that just hangs there for quite a long time. And then we finish the track off by doing some triplets again. And that's 2 chugs on the open E, the 2, 3, 2, up to the 5th fret, the D power chord. So repeat our open E chugs, 2, 3, 2, with an open E power chord. And there's every single rhythm riff to the song. Let's get into some lead. The solo's in F sharp minor, so we're using our F sharp minor pentatonic box that everybody should know. If you don't, I've got the diagram here for you, so commit that to memory because both of the solos in this song are directly out of that scale. We're not going to use anything other than that. So we play it here starting off of the 14th fret. And we also are going to use it down an octave starting off of the 2nd fret. Same scale, same shape, just moved octaves apart. So commit that to memory. To get through all of the solos on Kill 'Em All, you're really going to need to know that pattern. Okay, so to start the solo, what we're doing is a unison bend. Okay, so we're fretting the 14th fret on the high string, and we're going to bend the 17th fret up on the B string to match that pitch a whole step higher. Okay, so when you ring those together, you'll be able to bring them into pitch and just get a feel for that unison bend, how far you need to bend. And now we're just doing quarter note triplets for 2 measures, so 6 hits on both of those measures. But the last hit on measure 2 is just going to be an upstroke on the 14th fret because that's going to get us into our next phrase, which is a little repeating pentatonic lick. So what we want to do is pick 17 and pull off to 14 on the high string, down to 17 on the B string, back up to 14 on the high string. And then we do 2 pull-offs between 17 and 14. Back down to the B string 17 and up to the high string. And just repeat that. Okay, and then the last, to get out of that, we're going to go 17 to 14 one more time. And then do a quick up, we're going to position shift here. Up on the 17th fret and bend the 19th fret a whole step. And then release it, but you don't want to release it all the way down. On the recording, it's a little bit sharp, so just, hold it a little quarter step bend still. And then we're going to shift back down to 17 and 14. Okay, so there's the first 4 measures of our solo. So far, that's going to sound like this. Okay, now we're back down to 17 and 14, and we're starting off with something very similar to what we were already doing. 17 to 14 pull off, 17 on the B string, up to 14 on the high string, another 17 to 14 pull off on the high string, come down to the B string, 2 17 to 14 pull offs, and then down to the G string, 16 and 14, D string, 16, back up to the G string, 14, 16. But we're going to overbend. We're going to bend the 16th fret, but it's an overbend. Okay? You don't have to be super accurate with it, but you just want higher than a whole step, just to get that overbend, really sharp sort of sound. And then we're barring the 14th fret on the 2 high strings, getting an upstroke there. And now there's a lot of 17 to 14 pull-offs going on here. We're going to go 17 to 14 pull-off, 16 on G, back up to 14 on B. Now 2 more pull-offs between 17 and 14 on the B string. And then we want to pick the 17 and the 14. 1 more pull-off between 17 and 14. Down to the G string, 16 and 14. Okay, and that wraps up the first 8 measures of our solo, so that's 1/3 of the solo is done. Here's the first 8 measures really slow. Now we're getting into the next 8 measures of our solo, and we're sliding down into that same pattern an octave lower. So we start off on the G string by going 2 and a bend on the 4th fret, a whole step, up to 2 on the B string. And we're repeating a lot of these ideas that we were already doing, just down in a new position. So we're going 5 to 2 on the B string pull off, down to 4 on the G string, up to 2 on the B string, and then 3 5 to 2 pull offs on the B string, and then double pick that 2nd fret. Okay? 1 more 5 to 2 pull off on the B string, down to the G string, 4 2, down to the D string, 4, back up to the G string, 2 4, and then we want to bend and release the 4th fret, to the second fret, down to the D string, 4, back up to the G string, the second fret, then a 4 to 2 pull off, down to the D string, 4, 2, and now we're just walking up and down our pentatonic pattern here, 4 and 2 on the A string, put a palm mute on these notes, starting there, down to the 5th fret on the E string, down to the 2nd fret, 5 on E, up to the A string, 2 and 4, and then the 2nd fret on the D string. Okay, so the first 4 measures of this second set of 8 measures sounds like this. Okay, now we get into some trills, which is one of the most demanding parts of this solo. And we walk into those by going 4 on the A string, up to 2 on the D string. And now, okay, we're gonna trill just through our pentatonic pattern. And think of these as 16th notes. We're gonna hit the 4th fret and pull off to the 2nd fret. So 1 E and a 2 E and a. If you're thinking of them as 16th notes, it's not too bad. So you're gonna do 4 pull-offs in total for each of these trills. So that's on the 4th and 2nd frets on the D string. Come up to the G string and do the same thing. And then come up to the B string between 5 and 2 is your trill. And then the E string, 5 and 2. Okay, and now we're getting out of those trills by going 5 and 2 on the E string. And we kind of have a little bit of a bar on the high string, so we'll pick 2 on the B string, back up to 2 on the E string. 5 to 2 pull off again. And now we're walking down our pentatonic pattern, 5 on the B string. And now starting here, you really want to dig in and get some pinch harmonics. Okay, so you're really digging in, add the flesh of your thumb to those pick attacks, and we're just walking down the pentatonic pattern. 2 on the B string, 4 and 2 on the G string, the 4th fret on D, G, 2, and then the 4th fret on the G string. Bend it and release to 2, and then the 4th fret on the D string. Okay, so here's the whole second set of 8 measures in our solo. Now what we're doing is sliding up back into our first position that we started our solo in. So back up into our pentatonic pattern an octave higher again. And we're doing this sliding with our bar. So slide into the 14th fret on the B string and then roll that finger up and get the 14th fret on the high E string. And then we get into some really cool Kirk Hammett pull off licks. This is some of my favorite stuff that he does. We go, okay, 17 to 14 pull off on the high string, down to 17 on the B string, back up to 14 on the high string. And now we're going 17 to 14 pull off, 19 to 14 pull off, 17 to 14 pull off, and then double pick that 14th fret. Okay? And then we repeat those pull offs and the double pick. And then we repeat those pull offs one more time. But then that last time we come down to the 17th fret of the B string, up to the high string 14, repeat this 17 to 14 pull off, 2 picks on the 14th, and then one more pull off between 17 and 14, and then walking down our pentatonic pattern, 17 and 14 on the B string, 16 and 14 on the G string, 16 on D, 14 and 16 on G, bending that 16th fret up a whole step. So our first 4 measures of our last group of 8 goes like this. Okay, now we're at that 16th fret on the G string being bent up a whole fret. And now you want to bend that twice more and overbend it again slightly the second time. So we've got it bent a whole step. Next time, bend it a little bit sharp and then back to a whole step. And now we want to bend it one more time and release it to the 14th fret. And then a slow bend up on the 17th fret of the B string, arriving at our pitch on beat 3. Okay, release it so that we can get 17 and 14, and then bend the high E string 17th fret. And we're going to do that 3 times. Okay, but we're going to release it to a half step bend the 3rd time. We do 2 whole step bends, and then a half step bend. And then that gets us into our last little lick, which is triplets. And we get into those triplets by just a 1 beat of 8th notes, 17 and 14. And now here's our triplet run. Okay, so we start these triplets off by going 17 to 14 pull off, 17 on the B string, up to 14 on the E string, 17, 14 on the B string. Repeat the 17 to 14, but do it as a pull off. Down to the G string 16, up to the 14th B string, 16 to 14 on the G string. Repeat that 16 to 14 on the G string as a pull off. Down to the D string 16, 14. Down to the 16th fret of the A string. Back up to the 14 on the D string. 16 to 14 pull off on the D string. 16 to 14 on the A string. And then finish this off by going 17, 14 on the low E string. So here's the last group of 8 measures of our solo, nice and slow. Let's get to solo 2. The second solo is a little bit easier than the intro solo. It also is in a different key. This is in E minor, but not to be too worried. It's the same scale pattern that we already know. We're just moving it down a whole step to E. So you learn it in E minor, starting on the 12th fret. Okay, same scale pattern. Now we're starting with an oblique bend. So we're putting our pinky on the 15th fret of the B string and our 3rd finger on the 14th fret of the G string, and we're bending that G string note. Okay, up a whole step. And we'll want to do that 6 times. And then we get into some quarter note triplet double stops. Okay, so we're barring the 12th fret on the high strings, and then down to the 14th fret on the G and B strings, down to the 12th fret on the G and B strings. Do a 14th fret on the D string, up to the 12th fret on the G string, bar the 14th fret on that G and B, slight bend on that 14th fret, release it, down to the D, up to the G again, with some vibrato. And now we're bending the 15th fret up on the high string, and we're doing that 6 times. And again, that last bend is a little bit in between bent and not bent, kind of a half step bend. And then releasing to 15 and 12. And we're getting into a whole bunch of triplets here now. And it's really just straight up and down our pentatonic pattern. We're going 15 to 12 pull off, 15 to 12 on the B string, down to 14 on the G string, back up to the B string, 12, 15 to 12 pull off, 14 to 12 G string, 14 on the D string, 12 on the G string, 14 to 12 pull off. And then we want to put a palm mute on this run. 14 and 12 on the D string, 14, 12 on the A string, and get down to the 10th fret on the A string. Okay, so. And now to start our next phrase, we want to slide into the 15th fret on the B string, up to the 12th on the high E string. And we're doing a repeating 2-beat triplet thing. Okay, so it's pulling off between 12 and 15 on the high string, 12 and 15 on the B string, and 14 and 12 on the G string. So we're just doing the top 3 strings of our pentatonic pattern. And do that 3 times. The 4th time, all that we're doing is changing the last note. We're coming up to the B string 12th fret. So instead of going, we're going. Okay, so that whole little thing. And to finish this phrase off, we're going to do this one more time where we go down our pentatonic pattern, 15 to 12, pull off, 15 to 12 on the B string, 14 on the G string, back up to the B string, and then we're going to continue this pull off pattern down the pentatonic pattern. 15 to 12 pull off on the B string, 14 to 12 on the G string, 14 on the D string, back up to the G string, 12 and 14, and then a bend, release to 12, and back to 14, okay? Okay, now getting into the last little bit of the solo, we start with an upstroke, 12th fret of the B string. And then we're going to go 15 to 12 pull off on the high string. And we want a bar across this, and you're gonna have to kind of work your finger so that you can get these not to sound, you know, together. You don't want it too muddy. You want to get them nice and clean. So 12 to 15 on the high string pull off, and then the 12th fret on the B string, and then 14 to 12 on the high string, and then get that 12th fret on the B string again. Back to 15 to 12, up to 17 to 12. And we do that twice. Okay, and those are just triplets. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Okay, and we're going to continue those triplets up that high string now. And the position shifting is really important. So to finish this off, we're going to go 14 to 12. And my fingering too, I find that that's important. So I use my first 2 fingers for the first 2 beats. So I go 14 to 12 pull off, and then I use an upstroke as I shift. Okay, so 14 to 12, and then shift up to 14 with an upstroke. And then repeat that between 15 and 14. Okay, so again, you're going to want to shift with an upstroke. And now I switch to my 3rd finger, 17 to 15 pull off, and a position shift up to 17, and then 19 to 17 pull off. But this time we put in some chromatic movement. We only go up to the 18th fret. And then 20 to 18 pull off, up to 19, and then 22 to 19, back to the 22nd fret, and then 3 bends. Okay, so that whole little run up the high string. And there's both solos in No Remorse. So guys, I hope you enjoyed learning No Remorse by Metallica on guitar. Don't forget to drop a comment telling me what song you want covered next off of Kill 'Em All. Also remember to subscribe and like so that you don't miss any of these tutorials. After all, who doesn't want to learn every single Metallica song? I'll see you soon.